be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
Howdy how, folks. How's everyone doing today? I'm doing okay. It's, hey, McFace Stab, welcome. yeah, so it's been an interesting day so far. Um, Woke up to Mrs. Hueso this morning deciding to wake me up to let me know that the clicker to her car wasn't working. Which, okay, so, I don't know what the deal is there. Long story short, her battery was completely dead. Tried giving her a jump, but it was so far dead that a simple jump just wouldn't do it. So she took my car to work today, and so what I initially had planned, I couldn't do because I couldn't get to the market today. So it became a quest of, okay, what do I have on hand, and what can we do with that? And I thought, this would be a good opportunity to kind of, as an object lesson, I was like, okay, well, keeping things on hand and, making do with what you have when you can't get out, for instance. So the first thing I did was I took stock of, okay, let's go to the freezer and kind of have a look and see what we got. And in opening up, and I'm like, oh, okay, I got some chicken thighs that I had vacuum sealed and frozen when they were on sale. Picked up some extras and portioned them out, so then that way it's like, oh, okay, cool. I can pull something in the morning, thaw it, and then do something with it. And then the other thing that I pulled out was, this was a few months back, I had made a mushroom marinara sauce and had frozen it, some of it at least, into a couple of different portions, so then that way I could, use it for whatever I was going to make. And so pulled some of that out thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe I could roast up these chicken thighs and then have some pasta with the sauce and, do a vegetable to go with it and call it good. But then I also got to thinking, okay, well, I've got these chicken thighs and I've got this mushroom marinara. What if I make kind of a like a chicken parm with it, for instance, because I can do that. Another thought that I had was, okay, well, what if I, like debone the thighs and then roast those up separately, or have them with the parm. And so, really, in terms of dinner for today, like, I don't have anything planned. It's literally just like, okay, this is what I have, this is what I have to work with. And I was gonna leave it up to chat to say, hey, should I go with like the chicky parm? Should I do, kind of the herb roasted chicken that I was thinking about? Hey, yes, it is in fact to throw everything together and hope for the best day, Annie. Evening, whatever. So yeah, it's like I could do like the herb roasted chicken. To be honest, like I could not even use that mushroom marinara and do either like say some kind of pasta with like butter and garlic, maybe some fresh parsley, which I have. Maybe I could make a kind of a quick mac and cheese to go with it because I have cheese. I've got my sodium citrate. I've got milk. I could also do there's a tossed pasta that I'll do periodically that starts out with a little bit of bacon, throw in some sliced up garlic cloves, then breadcrumbs, fry that all together, toss in the pasta, and then finish it off with like fresh parsley. So that would be like kind of a nice side. So yeah, chicken and cheese, exactly. Heating up dumplings because I can't stand for long and I'm being lazy. Well, I understand why you can't stand up for too long, Annie. I did see the pictures and they are very adorable. Your new little friends that have joined you. So, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I've got some options. In terms of like vegetation, I've got frozen peas that I can bust out. I do have carrots that I can do any number of ways. I can steam them, I can saute them. And so, we've got some options. And I figured for salad, because it is the Ides of March, even though I made a Caesar salad last night, I feel obligated to continue with the Caesar salad today, being the Ides of March. And I mean, I've got leftover croutons that I made yesterday, and I also have some leftover Caesar's dressing that I made. So I kind of feel like I'm gonna have to do a Caesar salad to go with it. So at this point in time, the first question that I have for chat is, what should I be doing with the chicken? Should I turn it into that mushroom marinara and turn it into like a chicken parm? Should I roast it, do like an herb roasted chicken? Should I cut it up and saute it up and then toss it in the sauce and then toss the pasta in that to have kind of a chicken marinara pasta with the salad on the side? So I'm leaving it to chat to decide what on earth I'm making for dinner today. Chicky parm. Hey, you're kidding me. Welcome, welcome. Because chicken parm on the fly wouldn't be terribly difficult. I do have some, I've got some mozzarella left over from the pizzas that I made last night, so that'll be fine. I mean, I suppose I could go the traditional route of like breading them and then frying them and then baking them, but I'm kind of thinking about doing, hey, Lumpy Pickle, welcome, welcome. Yeah, throwing the chicken in the pasta. See what I mean? It's like, so that's really kind of the big theme for today. It's taking what components that I have and looking at, okay, so I don't just have one single option. I've got a bunch of options. You know what I mean? Chat's choice for food. Yeah, exactly. So, Lumpy, you probably missed what I was the story that I was telling. So, this morning I got woken up by Mrs. Wayso letting me know that effectively her battery was completely dead, and even after trying to jump it, her battery was too dead and wouldn't start. So she took my car to work, and because of that, I couldn't go to the market to get what I needed to make what I initially had planned on. So it's like, okay, what do I got? What can we make? Oh no, it's totally fine. I appreciate the sentiments, but it's totally fine. We'll get it figured out. If we need to, we'll probably pull the battery and maybe take it to one of the local places that has a charger and then have them charge it for a couple of hours, because I don't think the battery's that old and it should be all right. I mean, if we have, the battery's probably only a couple of years old at most. Hey, Scott, welcome, welcome. I don't think it's at the interval that it needs to be changed. So that's kind of what we're looking. In the event that chat had decided to go with kind of the herb chicken, I did harvest some rosemary this morning, and so that would be kind of the base herb flavoring to go with the chicken, if we decided to do that. Battery acid soup, no, that's no bueno. We don't want to do that. Throwing the chicken in the pasta, herb, chicken bits in Sue's parm. Okay, chicky parm. Chicken and cheese, which I'm guessing is going to be the parm also, is the other. Chicken parm with garlic herb mash or chips. So I do actually have leftover garlic mashed potatoes. And so, yeah, I've got a couple of chicken thighs that I thawed out, and I'm gonna need to trim them up, possibly debone them. One of the options is making pasta with a combination of like bacon and garlic and breadcrumbs and fresh parsley. Another one would be to make kind of a chicken, a mac and cheese kind of on the fly. Chicken and cheese in some form, okay. I thawed out some mushroom marinara sauce that is available to use, and I don't have to use it tonight. So we've got, let's see, chicken and cheese in some form. The pasta. Yeah, the pasta like with the breadcrumbs and stuff. That pasta with like the breadcrumbs and the bacon and garlic. It's something that I picked up off of, oh gosh, it was a cooking show years ago, and it was on PBS, and it was like this little thing that, you know, the woman who was hosting the show, she just kind of threw it together, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm digging on this. And so what happens is like the breadcrumbs and everything else get kind of toasty, and you toss that pasta in with it, and it's not like it's dripping with anything, but it's just like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I really like it. It's something that I like, you know, kind of throw together. Pasta and throw the chicken in. Okay, so like we could heat up that mushroom marinara, saute the chicken, add the sauce, toss it with the pasta. And yeah, I've got parm that we can easily do on top, and we can even throw in some of that mozzarella, because that would be really good too. And then I can do the Caesar salad on the side because it's the Ides of March and we have to do that. No red sauce. Okay. Let's see. Pasta and throw the chicken in. And let's see. What else do I have that could... Well, I've got lemons. Okay, so like lemony herb chicken in the pasta. Okay. That's doable. We can totally do that. Like I don't mind hanging on to that red sauce and using it for something different. So I will say, okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about and is this is a book I'm going to share with you that I bought a long time ago, and it has been indispensable for me at least. And if you I highly recommend it if you want to kind of like level up your cooking in terms of like, oh, okay, well, if I honestly knew how to get the polls going, Annie, I totally would. But that's not something that I've learned how to do quite yet. But like a lemony herb chicken pasta, I can definitely get behind. And I know Mrs. Waysock would absolutely get behind that too. The Tome of Cooking Leveling. So, the book is called The Flavor Bible, and in fact, so this book I've had for I don't even know how long now. It's been over a decade that I've had this book. And what is really great about it, I mean, is that the whole idea behind it is it brings up, well, actually, let me switch cameras so you can kind of see this better. So it lists out, like, for instance, different things, like in the case of rosemary, right? And it talks about, like, what the season is, what the taste is sort of like is it a really heavy, you know, is it a loud flavor? Is it, you know, pretty mild? Volume being loud, the tips about adding early on in the cooking, and some other stuff. And then what it does is it goes through and it lists like all these different flavor affinities, and the way that it kind of rates them is if it's just kind of normal prints, like, okay, yeah, sure, they kind of go together. If it's like big capitals like that, it means that they're like classic pairings is what it is. And then if it's just straight up bold, then it's like they're still really good. It's a really good pairing. And so what this does is as a reference, it's like, okay, so for like rosemary, saying things like beans, bell peppers, duck, eggs and egg dishes, eggplant, fish, and it's like this lengthy list. And then it also has, like, they've talked to a number of chefs that have said, oh, okay, you know, this is like what they like to do, their ideas on pairings. And when you get to kind of the end of the list, what's cool is it lists things to avoid pairing it with because the flavors really clash, and then some ideas for like flavor affinities. So like, for instance, rosemary, garlic, and lemon, rosemary, garlic, and wine, rosemary, garlic, and lamb, rosemary, butter and lemon, rosemary, anchovies, and garlic. Kind of classic pairings. So I've used this book so many times when I've been wanting to work on something or kind of develop a recipe, or I've had some ideas, is that I will look at it and say, okay, I'm thinking of kind of like this base ingredient. And so what kind of flavor pairings are kind of classic with it? What are some things to avoid? Or like in the case of, I just opened up rosemary because I happen to have the rosemary here, is it gives you kind of a list of, things that are timeless and, have tested and have been going on for years and years and years. And so, like, it said, it like in the rosemary, for instance, garlic, lemon, thyme, parsley, oregano. And there are some herbs that, for instance, that you don't want to pair together, that they clash. I have rosemary out front, and is there by design, Lumpy Pickle. But this is, something that helps me think about, like, okay, well, how do I want to flavor something if I'm trying to come up with something new, or something to help you think about your food and maybe how to change it up so that you're not necessarily stuck in a rut. Because that happens to me, it happens to all of us. We get stuck in a rut in terms of what it is that we're making, and so you rely on 3 or 4 things. But like I'm trying to demonstrate today, it's like, okay, I've got these sort of ingredients, but look at how many different options that we've talked about. So it sounds like what we've basically settled on is we're gonna debone and saute up the chicken with some lemon, garlic, and herbs. Toss it with the pasta, Caesar salad. So we're gonna have some herbs in there, and it should be good. I'm kind of thinking, in addition to the chicken and the garlic and everything else, I've got some little baby San Marzano tomatoes. I'm thinking I'll throw some of those in there, and I'm also going to chop up some onion and throw it in just to kind of round it out a little bit. So it won't be a red sauce, but it will have sauteed tomatoes, which I personally like, and I think it'll work really nicely with it. Peas on the side. Yeah, I can do peas. I love peas. Mrs. Waisel loves peas. We love peas. Peas are excellent. So let me get a bag of those out of the freezer, which nope, that's edamame. I thought that was peas. Let's see. I am thinking I need to check the freezer in the garage. So I'm going to go check the freezer in the garage real quick, just to make sure that I have peas, because if not, we're having carrots. So okay, that is a big negative on the peas. When I looked in the freezer earlier, the bag that I pulled out that was edamame, I thought I saw it said peas, and so I'm like, oh, okay. Peas are good, because normally we have them on hand just in the event, like, if you need to ice anything, bags of frozen peas are perfect for that kind of thing. So, I disagree, Annie. I love peas. Peas are very tasty, but that's okay. You don't have to like them. Peas in the pot are also very good too. Yeah, don't feed ducks bread. That is that is very true. So okay. That being the case, let's bust out that chicken and get it broken down. Thankfully, I've got my chicken board out already. Then, actually, I'm thinking before I break down the chicken, I should probably put a pot of water on to boil for the pasta. As for the pasta shape, I'm kind of thinking fettuccine. I'm looking to see what I got. I've got spaghetti, thin spaghetti, fettuccine. I've got pipergate, which is really more for a like mac and cheese. It kind of looks like Slave One from Boba Fett's ship. That's just kind of the way that it looks when you look at it from the underside. Let me see, what other pasta shapes do I have hiding? Right back. That's pipergate, in case you were wondering. And then I've also got farfalle, the bow ties. So I think I'm kind of personally leaning towards whatchamacallit. I'm leaning towards fettuccine, I think. I think that'll be best. What does chat want? Hey, thank you for the gift sub, Lumpy. Oh, Kerry, welcome, welcome. I didn't see you popped up in chat. Glad that you're here. The question was, what kind of pasta should I be making? Boba Fett, Bo. So I got one for pipergate, two for pipergate. I've got a farfalle. Star Wars. Oh! Hey baby, did you log on at work, I guess? Okay. Mrs. Hueso has spoken. We're having pipergate. Sorry, chat. She trumps everybody. So. Okay, baby. So the plan right now is we're going to... Oh, nice. Hey, Zonover. Welcome, welcome. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take those chicken thighs that I have. We're going to debone them. We're going to cut them up. We're going to do a lemony, garlic, herby seasoning with them. Saute them up and then toss them with the pasta. Probably a little olive oil, a little bit of butter to go into it. And then probably some fresh parsley at the very end. Woo! Are you dogs playing? Suddenly I hear, movement in the background and I'm like, what are the dogs doing? Probably toss in a little bit of chili flake just for a touch of heat. And then, yeah, Caesar salad to go with it. Oh yeah, maybe some tomatoes in there too, because lemon will work and the herbs will work with the tomatoes, so that'll be good. Yeah, Caesar salad because it's the Ides of March. So, how's it going, Zarniver? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so I'm going to put on some water to boil. You guys want to go outside? Of course y'all would, be doing this to me in the middle of, just getting out the salt, get that started. Okay. That is on. Nope. I moved this camera up a little bit higher just because it was so cut off. And I figured for today it just made more sense to do that. So bust out my, hey, Raptor Man, welcome, welcome. Wee-wee's blood. All right. Me and my reusable gloves, because disposable gloves are just too insanely expensive right now. I paid, I think, $4 for these, and this is now my second pair. The first pair finally developed a hole, and I had them for I'm not even sure how long. It was a few months, easy. So I got my my $4 worth out of them.
Groovy.
All right. Got my home knife. Okay. Thawed chicken thigh here. So I want to not only remove the skin, I'm going to want to remove that bone, and then I'm going to want to trim off as much of the surface fat as I can. I mean, a little bit of fat, you know, I'm not too worried about, but I don't need a ton of this chicken fat in what I'm making. Although, if I hang on to these skins, I might just be able to make a chicken skin banana hammock. So, oh, speaking of bananas, if y'all go down into the emotes menu, you should see a brand new emote, which looks, might be a little bit hard to make out, but it is a banana in the fetal position crying and shaking. Yep, there it is. And for the safe word of banana. So, thought that was pretty funny and decided to go with it. Unfortunately, the other one that I uploaded hasn't been approved just yet, but that's okay. Okay, back to deboning this thigh. I'm just like scraping off little bits of fat here and there. The nice thing when it comes to breaking down chickens, pork, beef, all of that, is that the fat lines tell you kind of where to cut. So in this particular case, we want to take out the bone that's right here, and there's this line of fat right there. That's where you want to cut. And that's literally how it works for most animals, is where you want to cut is where that kind of fat line is, at least when you're breaking things down. So all I'm doing is I'm butting the tip of the knife up against the bone here and just kind of running it down. To open it up a little bit, and then I just flip it around just because since I'm right-handed and I'm working this way, then I'm just scraping the top of the bone with the knife in order to open that up. And then, so this is where the joint this is where the hip it would be. So it would connect to the hip bone, and then right here down below would be where the leg would be, and then below that the foot. Anyways, so what I do is picking it up, and then if you can see, I run my knife underneath the bone, and then just pull it up like that, if you can see that, and then scrape it down with the back of the knife, and trim right around the bone in order to get rid of the cartilage and everything. And we got a deboned chicken thigh. Really that easy. So for the pasta, I want bite-sized pieces, so I'm just gonna cut this down like this, and then turn it to the side. And that's 1 of 4. Bones I'll hang on to for making stock. The chicken skin and fat, usually I would hang on to render out and make schmaltz, which is it's rendered chicken fat with onion. It's kind of the preferred cooking fat for most Jewish cooking. So we got that. Okay, next one. This one I'm going to go a little bit quicker just because I don't necessarily need to talk through everything quite as much. Okay. Thankfully, the skin for the most part is only really connected in a couple of spots, and so it's pretty easy to remove. And then it's just a matter of kind of scraping off the surface fat. And if there's a little bit left, it's not that big of a deal. Will mostly render out during whatever cooking one does with it. Meanwhile, the dogs are hanging around because they're like, oh, there will probably be treats. There we go. Oh, nice. That's still connected. This little bit right here is what's known as the oyster. It is this little chunk of meat that's tucked into the hip bone, and there's 2 of them. There's one on either side, and the processor that I get my chicken from, for the most part, these are attached to the thighs, and yeah, it's a great little piece, and it's one of those things that you would get docked for if you missed it. When you were breaking down a chicken when I went to culinary school. If you forgot those, yeah, they were not happy. Because then you were just, wasting food, and that's kind of a cardinal sin. Okay. 2 bones. That's 2. Number 3. This one has a lot of skin still attached. Yeah, that's the one thing, is that the size of the thighs sometimes vary. I mean, you saw the last one, it was a bit smaller, and this one's pretty dang big. So interesting thing, or it may just be interesting to me. I watch a lot of foreign cooking videos, a lot of Korean ones especially. And this one in particular that I was watching, because Korean fried chicken is absolutely amazing. Oh, thank you for the ambient music, Annie. Yeah, it is a royalty-free kind of an 80s synthwave mix that I found. And so I just kind of have that playing in the background. But Korean fried chicken is absolutely amazing. If you've never had it, do yourself a favor, and if you can get it, do so. It is super good. And so I was watching, this video about making it. And the presenter of the video was talking about how the chickens that they generally use, he was talking about their sizes, and he said that they come in like 700s, what do you say, like 700, 900, 1,000 kind of thing, basically in grams. So 700 grams, etc., etc. 700 grams isn't very much. I mean, it's not even 2 pounds. And a typical broiler fryer here in the US is usually about 4 pounds. That's kind of the standard size. And he even talked about how chickens in the US are definitely bigger. And so when it comes to cooking them, you either have to do it at a lower temp or break them down even more so in order to, achieve sort of the same effect. And I thought that was just really interesting how the chickens that we have here, or at least the commercially available ones, are much bigger. Yeah, like see, this thigh is really small in comparison to that last one. So that was just kind of an interesting tidbit. Like I said, it was interesting to me because I love Korean fried chicken and I want to make Korean fried chicken. So there we go. Okay. And looks like that's still attached there too. Oh, I left the cartilage on that one. Thought I'd cut it off. Okay. All right. Chicken. Broken down. So those I'll toss in there for later. This stuff I'm gonna just toss. This stuff, however, I kind of want to hang on to. I'm gonna go. Actually, you know what? I've got this open. I'm gonna put it in there, and I'll deal with all this a little bit later. Then I can wash my hands. Good, mate. Okay. Dry these real quick. Then we can take them off. Alrighty. Let's get this away. And that a quick wash. Okay, cutting board switch. And I'm gonna need a bowl. One that's a little bit bigger than I think I need. Okay. Chicken in the bowl. Bowl off to the side. I'm going to give this a quick rinse. Proper wash later. This is all ready to boil? Dang, that was quick. Alright. Turn the heat down on that. Okay, so now what I want to put in with this chicken. I've got some rosemary here. We're gonna put got a lemon, and I'm gonna put the zest in there too. We need some garlic. And let's see. We got some thyme there. All right. Oh. What? No. I've got that. Okay. This is the leftover Caesar's dressing that I made last night. I busted out the romaine. I got the parsley here, so that's ready to go. I think the only other thing that I'm going to want to get is salt, pepper, and probably a little bit of olive oil. Okay. I should probably get my zester real quick. That'll be a good idea. Alright. Oh, I did grab the Italian herb mix. That's cool. That will work nicely. So, a little bit of that. Oh, it's not even on camera. There we go. So I just hit it with a little bit of the Italian herbs. I'm just throwing stuff in there. Not even bothering to measure. Somebody really needs to put the dishes away around here. Oh wait, that's someone's me. Alright. Yeah. I was just giving the lemon a scrub. Consequently, I have a sponge specifically set aside for doing vegetation, so it's not I'm not using the same sponge that I would yes it is Mom. Okay, so we got the lemon. Looks like Mrs. Hueso's statements are made and cleared to leave. Okay, Mrs. Hueso's on her way home. Good to know. Scroll up real quick. Accidental Chaos, welcome, welcome. Welcome to anybody else that I may have missed. Welcome to all the lurkers. Yeah, so Accidental Chaos, basically the story is that there was no plan for dinner. Well, the plan that I had for dinner was thwarted, and we're making it up on the fly. Chat has decided that I'm going to do kind of a lemony, garlicky chicken tossed with pasta. And then we are going to have a Caesar salad with it. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing. We just broke down chicken thighs that I had thawed. They're in the bowl here. The only other thing that's currently in there is just a little bit of a dried Italian herb mix. So, hail Feather. Yep. So now I'm going to hit it with the lemon zest. Consequently, if you're not using the zest of whatever citrus that you have, you're missing out. Even if you don't necessarily use it in what you're using the juice for, definitely zest whatever citrus that you have and hang on to it. That way you're getting the most use out of it. So we'll do the zest in there. That'll add a real nice aroma to it. Then okay, I see seeds. I'm gonna go get my juicer real quick. We get all of the juice, none of the pips, aka the seeds. And in with the chicken. In case you're concerned that the tossing of the chicken with the lemon juice is going to toughen up the chicken, it's not going to be sitting in it long enough to have an adverse effect to it. Had all four of your wisdom teeth. Oh wow! You know, I had all four of my wisdom teeth taken out at the same time, also, and yeah, that was an experience. I'm glad I never have to do it again. But I will say, if you've not had your wisdom teeth taken out, the single best piece of advice that I had ever gotten was don't fight the drugs. Absolutely do not fight the drugs. Let the drugs do their thing. And in doing so, oh, it was nice. They told me to count down from 100, and I was like, 100? And that was the last thing I remember. So, okay, let's see. Let's chop up some rosemary and throw that in. I'm kind of thinking just that little bit is going to be fine. Because if not, it might be a little too overpowering. You know, it's funny, I was having dinner, I forget where, and the woman that was serving dinner made a pasta sauce that had like whole rosemary leaves in it, and some other people that were there that had it before was just like, oh yeah, she makes this, you know, pretty frequently, and yeah, she's like, there's pine needles in there, which was, you know, kind of half true. But I tried to reassure him. I'm like, no, rosemary in there is, you know, it happens. It's not super common, but that was kind of her thing. She was an interesting woman. pumped me full of anti-anxiety meds because I wouldn't sit down. You know, I've had stitches and I've had my wisdom teeth out, and those are really kind of the extent of, yeah, that's really the extent of any surgeries that I've had. The stitches occurred out in Barstow, California. If you're familiar with it, you know it's just like, oh, you don't want to find yourself in a hospital in Barstow of all places. I was a kid. I was with my dad. We were on a kind of a overnight camp trip for scouts. We were going hiking, and I went down this embankment that had a bunch of loose rock. I slipped and tore up my knee. Got taken to the hospital there, where, you know, we were there for quite a while, and the doctor, when he came in to do the stitches, like loaded up the syringe and was holding it like there and just straight up stabbing into my knee to numb it up. It was yeah, it was an experience. I forget how old I was. I was probably like 13, I think. It was yeah, it was quite the experience. Alright, so I've crushed the garlic. I'm just giving it a chop. I don't want to grate the garlic in, because if it's too small, when we go to saute up the chicken, it's going to burn way too easily. And I want it to actually cook as opposed to burn. So, okay. Got that going. Okay, so garlic is in there. We got that in there. Need some parsley, even though that's going to be for the very end. I'm going to go give, let's see. Yeah, I want to finish this off with some parsley. I don't want to saute it up with the parsley in there. A little bit big on the stem. If it were cilantro, I'd be okay with it, but with parsley, the parsley stems tend to be a little bit too woody. I don't really want that. Okay. That'll be good for the very end. Give that a quick rinse. I like to just do a really rough chop initially, just to kind of like knock it down before I come in and really give it a fine chop. That's just personal preference. How you decide to chop it up is whatever works, go for it. Okay, so that is good to go for the end. Stick that to around. So that way I got it. If you're wondering why I haven't added any olive oil to the chicken, I know I've talked about this before, but the reason is that chicken, like most people and animals, is predominantly made up of water. Oil and water don't mix. So, hey, Raptorman, thank you so much for the gift subs. Adding oil to any kind of marinade or anything like that isn't going to really accomplish anything. So I'll saute it up in the olive oil, because then we'll get, you know, those flavors and everything. but adding it to like a basic marinade makes no sense. So don't even bother. Okay, let's hit it with a little bit of salt. That's that kombu salt that I made. And
dang.
Pepper. And let's just give that a toss. Okay, so that is good like that for the time being. This is that. And I can put this away. As is that. Needed to get out my wedge of parm, so then that way we can finish off the chicken and pasta with it, and also as a final touch on the Caesar salad. Since that'll come together super quick, part of me is tempted to knock it out right now, and then we can clear all of this away, and then we can get the chicken going. So I'm gonna knock out that Caesar salad super quick. I've got about a romaine heart and a half here, because I made Caesars last night. So I'm just gonna cut the ends off real quick. And then I'm gonna go give these a quick rinse, and I should probably get a bowl down. That would be really helpful. That real quick. Good. Talk amongst yourselves. The Cold War was neither cold nor a war. Discuss. Okay. That sounds like Mrs. Hueso is home. Welcome home, baby. Oh, hooray. They got approved?
Yeah.
Nice.
They've been paid. No more financial statements for until next month.
Mwah. Welcome home, baby.
Thanks.
Say hi to chat. Chat. Oh, hi there, puppy.
The jaws. Oh.
When it comes to Caesars, I tend to like the pieces of lettuce a little bit bigger, because Caesars doesn't really have anything else in it.
Good girl. Anything exciting?
Um,
Chicken.
chicken.
You may do with no car. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I bet you there's somebody that we could call that has like a battery charger or something like that.
I don't know.
Because I'd be willing to bet that, because I don't think your battery is old enough to...
My car wouldn't start this morning.
I don't think it's her battery's old enough to be dead. So,
I can try jumping it later.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing too is if we leave the cables on there for a little bit longer to kind of give it that jump, kind of like when my battery and alternator died at the same time.
Joy and joyness.
Lumpy Pickle with the Monty Python Life of Brian quotes.
Nice.
See what I got you, man. We're on the same page here.
Told your brothers.
So, it's true.
Brother, another mother.
Brothers from another mother. Okay. So we got. Thankfully, Caesar's pretty dang simple. It's just romaine. There is a fair amount of debate when it comes to the dressing for Caesar salad, because if we're looking at the super traditional way when it was originally made, it was made table side, and they would mix the dressing in the bowl there at the table before tossing in like full romaine leaves, and then finishing it off with a little bit of Parmesan and croutons. And that was how it was initially served. The dressing consistency, because I have made it that way before, is really more in lines with like a vinaigrette, but it's not a very creamy vinaigrette. It's more of like, it's a very thin vinaigrette, I'll say that. And the problem with that kind of dressing is romaine tends to have some really waxy leaves, and so a thin vinaigrette like that will kind of slide right off of it, which is a bit of a pain. And so like if you go to buy like a bottled Caesars, usually you'll see two types. You'll see the vinaigrette version, but then you'll also see like a creamy version. And the creamy version came about because romaine tends to, be a bit more waxy. And so then that way, the creamy dressing sticks to way better. Oh, he'll hydrate, by the way. So that's why this dressing that I made last night looks like it's on the creamier side. Now this is it's an emulsion that is held together because I made it right. At some point, we'll go over how to make this happen. Spoiler alert, if you have an immersion blender, it helps in a big way. Yeah, if you have an immersion blender, that's going to be the single biggest thing. Or if you have a blender, making it in there. So given this amount, I'm just going to... I like to dress it kind of early on, but then I'll add the croutons and the Parmesan right before serving. So then that way the croutons don't get soggy. I don't want soggy croutons. Okay, so that will work nicely for that. I can just scoot that off to the side. Got the croutons, got the cheese, I got this. I think we're about ready to get started on the chicken. So I can get rid of this stuff. And my little portable burner, the real MVP. Let's see. Oh, we're still nice and full. Cool. All right. Let me go get a pan. Since it's going to come together pretty quick. Okay, colander's in the sink, ready to go. Box directions, between 8 to 10 minutes. For Mrs. Wace and myself, I'm only going to do half the box. Then, you know, since dry pasta effectively keeps forever, I'll have it for, like, say, mac and cheese or something. So half the pasta with this amount of chicken and everything else should be fantastic. And we'll put 9 minutes on the clock. Okay. The only thing I've put in this water is salt. I haven't put any oil or anything like that. The only reason why you really add oil to the water when you do pasta is to break up the surface tension, to kind of help it keep from foaming over. It doesn't coat the pasta at all because it gets washed off, so there's no need to worry about that. If you don't add any, it's not a big deal. Depending on how full your pot is, will determine whether or not it, you know, decides to boil over. Let's see. Traditional hollandaise. I will write that down.
Yes, please.
Mrs. Hueso is all over that. Actually, well, wait. I think... Scott, are you on the Discord? Because if you are, put it into the food suggestions on the Discord. Lumpy, if you would throw up the socials for me, that would be awesome. And then, yeah, go on the Discord, throw it into the food suggestions section. And then, yeah, we'll go over, like, making a traditional hollandaise, traditional béarnaise, which is kind of an offshoot of that. As for the meatloaf was awesome. I fried it up the next day, and I also fried it up the day after that and mixed it into some of the leftover kitchen sink soup that I made last Thursday, and that was very good too. So we are golden on that. All right, pasta into the water. And about half the box. That's about half. Okay. Start the clock, give it a stir so it don't stick together.
Groovy.
Okay. Pan on high. We're going to let this preheat a little bit before adding your oil. Should always preheat whatever pan that you're cooking in. If you're going to add any oil, preheat it before you add it. The surface of a pan is actually kind of porous, and by heating it, it actually causes it to close up a little bit, so then that way the oil works as an actual lubricant as opposed to just kind of sitting there. So you don't have to let it preheat very long, just like a little bit, but definitely some guy on the internet, yeah. No, the meatloaf came out great. The only complaint that I had was that the bacon wasn't quite as crispy as I would have liked. But the next day in heating it up, I could remove the bacon, cut it up, and fry it up separately, so it wasn't a big deal. And then I'd had little bacon bits to go with my meatloaf. So I'm only going to add, I don't know, maybe a tablespoon and a half. I need to replace this pan, but I will say that pan prices at the moment are kind of stupid high. Give that a quick stir. To put it into perspective, so this is a 12-inch nonstick. I paid, I think it was $16 for this. When I recently was at a restaurant supply place looking to replace it, prices were hovering in the $32 to like $40 range. Or overcook it. So the thing about crisping the bacon, like if we're talking about the meatloaf as a whole lumpy, it would just be, hang on. It would just be a question of finishing it at a higher temp. So then that way the bacon would crisp up, and because it's effectively wrapped around the outside, it kind of acts like a protective blanket. So if you were to finish it in, say, like a 450, 500 degree oven, it would crisp it up more. The thing that was kind of working against it is that lattice work, because then it was, in effect, 2 layers of bacon. And so now you were trying to crisp up, instead of a single layer, suddenly 2 layers. The other thing you could do is, you know, if I had a camera outside, I would have taken it outside and used my portable flamethrower to crisp it up that way. Yes, exactly, McFaceStab, but it's weed burner time. So, okay. So far, so good. It smells excellent. Yep, okay, good. And thankfully, because it's all, you know, cut up, the chicken won't take very long. In fact, by the time the pasta is done, this should be cooked through enough to where we could finish it off by tossing the pasta in the pan with everything else, and then we'll hit it with that some Parmesan and that parsley. There we go. Now you could very easily do this with chicken breast. Just bear in mind that breast goes from fantastic to sawdust about as quick as an avocado turns. So that being the case, you just got to be really careful with it. That's predominantly why you find me using chicken thighs, is that they're way more forgiving. I mean, I took off like the surface fat and everything else, and so really, other than the olive oil, there might be a little bit of chicken fat that's in this, but given what little chicken fat would have been on there versus the entire dish, your per person fat consumption would actually be quite low. Yeah, I definitely need a new one because it's all warped in the middle. Okay. I'll leave that be for a minute. Meanwhile, I'm running around in my slippies. Alright. This is smelling good. It is looking good. I remember what else I was going to throw in here. Pinch of chili flake. Okay, so far so good. Things are looking really good. Let's get a fork and give it a try real quick. Minute 22 on the clock. Oh. Okay. So that lemon comes across quite a bit. But that's okay. And the piece that I had was just perfect. And since we're going to be tossing the pasta in this and letting it go for a little bit, I'm just going to turn it off so then that way I'm not crazy overcooking it. And then we'll throw in the pasta at the same time. And let's see, where are we at? 18 seconds on the clock. Pull a piece just to test it. We're good. Okay. Just slightly al dente, because I don't want it too al dente. And if it were spaghetti, I could throw it up against the wall. All right, into the pan. Okay. Flippo cam. There we go. Okay. Put in that parsley. Nice. All right, we are looking good. Whoop. Piece of pasta overboard. Okay. So we are ready to plate. to the side. All right, there's the chat pasta, which if I go over here, let's see. Let's turn off. Yeah. There we go. Chat pasta with herby lemon chicken. Or some Moz. Yeah, shoot. Let's throw some Moz in there. I'm down. This is actually some leftover grated mozzarella and fontina from last night. James smells the cheese. He's just like, cheese for me? Boom. Okay. Now it's mozzarella and fontina. So that'll be nice and melty. Next up, that's salad. Okay. There we go. That's looking nice and healthy. Now, we make it rain. Move it so it's actually in view. And we'll give some of the pasta too, because why not? This is just a microplane grater. Interesting story. Microplane actually started out making woodworking tools, but then someone's like, hey, this is really good for, you know, being used in the kitchen. And they're like, oh, really? And they pivoted hard. Okay, so we got that on the salad. Now just need to finish it off with some croutons. And the croutons, super simple. I used a roasted garlic sourdough and cut off the crust and cubed it up. Then I took some olive oil and put some crushed garlic in there to infuse the oil. So but then I strained out the garlic later, and I actually used that in the dressing. And the reason for that is because garlic, had they been tossed with the bread cubes, would have browned quicker and had gone to burn before toast. So that way I can get that garlic flavor in the oil that I tossed this in, and then added just a little bit of salt. And then after the toasting and they came out of the oven, I hit it with a bit of Parmesan cheese and put it back in long enough for the Jane. Sit. Oh, puppy heard me. Come here, little girl. Come here. Come here. Oh, fine. Vera has this weird thing where, for whatever reason, she doesn't come into this section of the kitchen, and I don't know why. It's very odd. Like, she'll stop right there, and then that's it. Like, she's done. But the croutons, yeah, tossed them, and then called them good, and yeah, just hung on to them, and then bada bing, bada boom, there you go, easy croutons. So that is effectively dinner for the evening. More than likely, probably make some kind of vegetation or something like that. I got some, hey! Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Miller Shreds is in the house. Welcome, welcome, sir. Good to see you here. Had a fun time in your stream earlier today. You scored some really excellent records. But I seriously, I like I said earlier, you need to put a note by that dumpster. It's like, hey, instead of throwing out all those records, just give you a call. You know, that way you can give them a good home. But yeah, so in case you haven't been here the whole time, Nick, what happened is my original plan for dinner was thwarted because Mrs. Hueso's battery died, and so she took my car to work and I couldn't go to the market, so it was just, okay, well, what do I got? What can I make? And so I busted out some stuff, and chatting with Chat kind of figured out, oh, okay, Chat was like, hey, let's do like a lemony garlic chicken tossed with pasta, and I was going to make a Caesars anyway because it's the Ides of March and you kind of have to, even though I had Caesars salad yesterday too. So at any rate, that is where we're at, and that is kind of what's up. Now I believe Mrs. Hueso has a meeting that she has to go to, and so I need to get her fed. Yeah, you're exactly right, Nick. Sometimes it is those dinners like those where you come up with the most interesting things. Well, and like I was telling Chad earlier, like I busted out some mushroom marinara sauce that I had made and froze, and so one of the potential options was making like chicken parm with it, just because I could. And so we broke down the thighs and made this, since this is what Chat decided on. And I was like, okay, I'm down to clown. And actually this was pretty fun, and I'm kind of thinking we should do this a little bit more often, where it's just like, okay, well, I don't have a plan, this is what we got available, and then figuring it out with Chat and be like, okay, what should we make, and then just kind of making it on the fly. Sounds like she's on the phone. So at any rate, yeah, any questions from the class today? Because I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. We got some pasta, we got the chicken, we got some of that 3-cheese blend, because there's mozzarella, fontina, and parm in there. Hey, Brant, welcome, dude. Actually, hang on. Let's see if this will agree with me. Maybe. Let's see if this works. Do. Yeah, now all we need is Gandalf the Red to roll in. It's thinking. It's not liking thinking. Okay, let's see. Whoop. Let's see. And let's do that. Let's do that. And I think if some comments are made, there's going to be some jewelry that pops up. Mozzarella sticks. Okay. We can do Moz sticks. Thankfully, mozzarella sticks are relatively easy. It's just a question of getting, if you get the string cheese sticks, that's going to be the easiest. Although if you do get a block of low moisture mozzarella, that will also work, and you can easily cut them up that way. Then you don't necessarily have to do a stick. You could do a slab, which would be kind of cool. You can cut up that slab, and then it's pretty much a standard breading procedure. So tossing it in some like flour or something like that, and then hitting it with egg, and then like seasoned breadcrumbs, and letting that set before frying. My I would need to look into it, but I would guess that for something like that, probably about 350 Fahrenheit would be pretty standard. You just have to be really, really careful to make sure that it doesn't bubble up and overflow. But that, generally speaking, should be pretty easy. And then you can just, you know, whatever you want to dip it into, be it marinara sauce, which is super common. So Grant, what are you making for dinner tonight? Using the book with compatible herbs. Nice. Yeah. Oh, for those that weren't here earlier, one of the things I talked about was this book, the Flavor Bible, which there's a link to it. And if you really want to like kind of take your cooking to the next level, this is something that I super highly recommend, because of what instead of just thinking about like one specific thing, you can like look up a specific ingredient or like an herb or something, and then by using this, figure out some flavor affinities. So then that way you can do something different than you normally would. So like, you know, what I pulled up was rosemary, for instance, and we kind of went through the list. It's like, okay, this is what works with rosemary. And it's like, oh, okay, so these sorts of things have a good affinity. You can put them together and come up with something new for yourself. Sweet potato sushi bowls with ahi tuna. Interesting. Is the sweet potato, how are you making it, Grant? Are you roasting it and then, or are you doing like a tempura, which I kind of doubt is happening just because you're trying to cut back on the fats. So I would imagine probably roasted or mashed would be my guess. Kind of in the place of what would be a traditional kind of rice for like a poke bowl. Hey, Accidental Chaos, we ordered Chinese, I think it was, what, Friday night?
Sure.
Yeah, it was like Friday night, because sometimes you're just like, you know what, I'm good. Okay, yeah, roasted. Nice. And then ahi tuna, yeah, ahi is fantastic. So, here.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's a lot.
And salad.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, right. Oh, you are having rice as well. Ah, very good. Yeah. You're just kind of looking at it. Nice.
Well,
did you have a comment, question?
Nope. No.
She's just here for the food. That's okay. That's sort of the agreement
That's
that
not
we have.
true. That's mostly true.
Mostly true. But not completely true.
I kind of like you.
Oh, thanks. I kind of like you too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I highly recommend fried edamame and cabbage with the mayo sriracha. Nice. Okay. Nice. So
awesome.
is the edamame shelled, or is it in the pod that you're kind of frying it up? And then cabbage with the mayo sriracha. Is the cabbage cooked, or is it like in the form of a slaw?
Mm.
What is Mrs.'s favorite meal?
That's what I'm thinking, like,
I'm gonna hang on. I got a prediction. She can answer what her favorite thing is. I'm gonna take a wild guess. Something that I can repeat. Number one.
Yes.
But for the longest time, her go-to birthday meal, because it's a thing in the family where when it's your birthday, you get to request dinner, and you get that dinner. Okay. For her, ribeye steak with béarnaise sauce, baked potato, and then not terribly picky about the vegetable.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, although something you can make the same the next time.
Okay. Yes, something I'll make the same the second time.
I can't get...
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. So loose soybeans, slaw cabbage. Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I can't get too excited about his food because this next meal, even if it's the exact same meal, it's going to be different. He's going to be like, I need to add blah, blah, blah for blah, blah, blah reason. Yay!
First world problems. Nice.
No, I love a baked potato. Although, to be honest, I really like sweet potato with grilled chicken. That's awesome. And it's good for you.
Okay. Speaking of which, we got a chicken titty thawed for you, so that way you can grill it up. Yeah. Because
I didn't have lunch because I was working on financial statements.
True. Night Song's asking, not mashed with pepper.
I love a good mash with pepper. I'm not a big fan of garlic in my mash. I'll eat it. It's good, but it's not my favorite.
So,
Breakfast foods are my favorite foods. And this one doesn't make breakfast foods. I've had to learn the hard way.
it's true. A confession of mine is I'm not super huge on breakfast foods. It's
a travesty.
I'm not like, oh, breakfast sucks, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, I don't get excited about breakfast foods very much.
A good hash, waffles, pancakes.
I mean, I'll make
French
it and I'll
toast.
eat it, but I can't say breaky for dinner nice.
I'll have to take over the stream because I'm pretty good at breakfast now.
So
I had to learn the hard way. Yes, thank you, Pickle.
yeah, eggs Benedict. There you go.
Whoever
Eggs
said
Benedict.
hollandaise, thank you. We're gonna have eggs Benedict that night.
Okay, smoked salmon eggs Benedict. Yeah, we can make that happen.
Or
Shoot.
Dungeness crab Benedict.
Lox is something that we can and probably should make on stream. I've
Yeah.
made lox before, so I'm thinking, yeah, I'll put that on the list.
I put peas on the list. Whoever said peas. Peas are good. Thank you, Nice
I'm
Songs.
trying to remember if I can get aquavit. Probably. At least in the traditional kind of like cured salmon.
That's right. I learned I'm pretty good
Best
at hash browns.
cheeseburger recipe. Okay.
Yeah. I can do a good breakfast.
Hi, puppy.
I can do cinnamon rolls. He does do quiche. There are 2 times a year he'll make quiche on a Sunday. I'm not joking. And it's different every time, of course. But
It's just based on what we have. But yeah, no, I do like quiche, although I do eat it with a fair amount of hot sauce, but I do like quiche.
ugh,
Quiche.
I
like a good waffle, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, waffles! Unless it's like chicken and waffles. Oh
We
man.
can make that happen.
There was a Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles that opened up down the street from, like, literally within walking distance of where we first lived in Anaheim, but then we moved and it was further away. But, like, I could literally walk to a Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and
Ooh.
that was,
A goat cheese veggie omelet.
good waffles. Okay. We'll do waffles. I'm in. Goat cheese veggie omelet. Okay.
That'd be amazing.
This one is right.
To be honest, we have a lot of good food up here. Portland's a foodie town.
Waffles, and then,
That means we have to go into Portland, though. Which isn't bad, but going for breakfast is a bit hard. Oh, no, my favorite food! My all-time favorite food, dim sum.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's my favorite food. And that's something we need to get this guy to make.
Yeah, LA does have a lot of phenomenal food. It is just spread out because LA is just sprawl.
Yeah.
But yeah, LA's got a ton of good food there too. Yeah, we both like the goat cheese, both fresh and harder goat cheeses too.
Yeah. Especially goat cheese in a salad with like beets and
Yeah,
some toasted nuts.
like say perhaps these nuts.
Yeah. Or doze nuts.
Never knew you could make cheese with goat milk until I went to this wine bar and they had this goat cheese, grilled cheese. Yeah, no, they make, you know, if the animal can be milked, cheese can be made from it. Buffalo, I mean your mozzarella de buffalo, which is made from milk from a water buffalo, and their It's expensive because, well, getting that milk is expensive. Goat cheese is going to be more expensive too, just because goats don't yield as much milk as dairy cows. Ewes also make phenomenal cheese. Ewes are girls' sheep. Sheep are boys. Ewes are girls. But yeah, ewe's milk cheeses are one of my very favorites. Generally speaking, ewe's milk has a higher fat content too, and especially like the softer cheeses made with ewe's milk are absolutely phenomenal. My favorite cheese in that sort of style it's called Brevaus d'Argental, and it is kind of in the style. It's not the same shape or, falls under the classification of a brie, but it is a young rinded soft cheese made from ewe's milk, and it's phenomenal. It's one of my very favorites. We went to a goat farm on Maui and ate fresh goat cheese. Oh yeah, I bet that would be real good. I did make cheese in culinary school. It was a kind of a fresh mozzarella, and it's an interesting process, and it is one that I would like to get to know better. But making especially aged cheeses, I mean, there's a lot of processes involved in that, and so yeah, that is something that probably down the line would be really cool to do. It's naturally it's kind of like when you have that lottery conversations, like if we won the lottery, what would you want? One of the things that I would absolutely build into whatever home we end up in would be a cheese cave. So it'd be subterranean, so then that way it would be temperature controlled and everything, and humidity, but specifically so then that way for like cheeses and making cheeses and things like that. And it's would be the perfect root cellar because it would have the it would be that perfect environment, so then that way things like potatoes and onions and things that store for a long time would be perfect for that. Wine cellars, to be honest, like a wine cellar, that same sort of cellar temp is perfect for aging beers or aging wine, cheeses. Yeah. Had some really good pineapple bacon wrapped jumbo shrimp once in Cancun. That was also very good. Also had a really good coffee tequila. That is an interesting combination, coffee and tequila. But, pineapple bacon wrapped jumbo shrimp. That I can see happening. I'm curious, was there like a slice of pineapple up against the shrimp and then it was wrapped in bacon? I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I've seen and been in some amazing wine cellars. Like, it's super cool to be in. I would have no use for one, though. Fill everything with cheese. Yeah, we could do that. Jumbo shrimp is a contradiction. Jumbo shrimp is an actual size. It is a USDA recognized size designation, believe it or not. Jumbo shrimp usually fall in the 16 to 20 range, meaning that there's 16 to 20 per pound. That's what that count on the shrimp just means. It's like if it's a U, say 35 to 50 or 35, 45, is that there's between 35 to 45 per pound. That's all that number means. Prawns are just big shrimp. There's some varieties of prawns, absolutely. But get them with like heads on, get them with the claws and everything. The heads make fantastic soup. Yeah. Okay, so that is how it was wrapped up. So they had the shrimp with a slice of pineapple, then wrapped it in bacon. And I'm guessing it was for ease of production, I would imagine it was probably deep fried, just so then that way they weren't having to sit there and constantly turn it. Deep frying it would really evenly cook up the bacon. That would be my guess. Interestingly enough, there was a burger place that we used to go to, and I'd go in there to order, and the guys that were working the line, whenever it was time that they needed more bacon for stuff, they had a bunch of part-cooked bacon just kind of in their drawer, and they threw it straight into the deep fryer until it was ready and then pulled it out. Shrimp heads, roly-poly shrimp heads, eat them up, yum. In the morning, laughing happy shrimp heads. In the evening, floating in the soup. Barnes and Barnes was a classic from when I was a kid. The original's called Fish Heads. If you've never heard of it, you can look it up on the YouTube. Enchiladas with green sauce. Okay, we can do that.
Enchiladas, you could use like sides, proper refried beans and spinach rice.
Okay, yeah.
Are there other sauces other than green, red, white, and red?
What's the question? Are there other sauces than green, brown, white, and red? For enchiladas? Or, okay, mole. Oh, okay. Now you're talking my language when you mention mole at night song. I love mole. Mole is delicious. It is a very complex recipe to make because there's a ton of ingredients. I've made it from scratch and it was phenomenal. I'm all over that. So McFace Stab, back to the sauce question. Are you talking about for enchiladas? Oh, it was grilled. Okay. Got it. Okay, so they grilled those shrimp and they kind of had it there. Okay. Mole. Just screwing around. Okay.
Right on the whiteboard.
Oh, yeah, because it's empty. Good call. I don't know why I just went straight to the fridge. Dim sum, there's like a bajillion things. But okay, we'll put it on the list. For enchiladas, so mole comes in a bunch of different colors. Probably the most famous is the mole out of Oaxaca, which is a state in Mexico that's kind of on the southern bend, right above kind of the Yucatan Peninsula. The predominant flavor that comes out of there is it's kind of a mole negro, as it's called, a black mole. Not because it's burnt, but it's just a dark color. But there's a whole bunch of different varieties. You get like kind of the jarred ones that you usually find in the Hispanic markets, or brown based sauce, which is also very good. There's a green mole that I'm aware of. There's a whole bunch of different ones, but the traditional like mole negro is probably got like 30 different ingredients, one of which is actually dried avocado leaves, interestingly enough, and I had to look this up because I didn't believe it when I first saw the recipe, but apparently the avocado is part of the laurel family. Laurel, specifically the laurels that most people would know would be the bay laurel, so bay leaves. So bay leaves and avocados are in sort of the same botanical family, and I guess dried avocado leaves get used quite a bit, as opposed to like a bay leaf. So who knew? Dim sum, okay, yeah. Pot stickers, hargao, char siu bao,
those egg custard ones.
the egg custards, pork buns but gluten-free. So most of the time when you get those buns, they shouldn't be made from a wheat-based dough. They should be made from a rice-based dough. But gluten-free pork buns. I can write. Okay. No chicken feet? I disagree. I love chicken feet. But yeah, we'll do chicken skin too. Hargao, Hargao, char siu bao. Yeah, I mean, dumplings come in a number of different sizes and styles. So you got the closed kind of pot stickers. If I remember, I think Hargao. No, shumai is the one that's kind of open at the top. Yeah, more chicken feet for me. I'm fine with that. You just got to make sure that you have to snip off the toenails. That's kind of the big thing. You got to make sure that you snip those off, but then you braise them and steam them, and they're good. A kangaroo dish. Oh, nice, Raptor Man. Have a good time with that. That sounds like it'd be a good show. Kangaroo. I don't know. You know what? I need to look into it because I would imagine that there's got to be some places around me that I could order exotic meats through. See someone eat a kangaroo burger. Yeah. I mean, I know that at least in Australia it's, you know, somewhat common. Or at least it's obtainable really easily. Gamey?
Game meat.
Oh, game meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do rabbit, deer.
Every other butcher shop. Yeah, well, if I was in Texas, then yeah, I can imagine. Like, well, actually, I know somebody in Austin. I could probably talk to them and get them to obtain some stuff like that. I know I can get a hold of like elk meat and deer meat here pretty easily just because they've got those seasons. I know that there's a bear season up here, so that might be something that I could also get a hold of. Yeah, like I would be elk, venison, ostrich, rabbit. I can get rabbit at my local market. Like the Winco that I go to, they have rabbit there. We used to make, when I was my last semester, we had the restaurant at the school that I went to, and part of it was working in that. That was one of the classes, and we were open, I think it was like 3 days a week or something like that. Anyway, it's rabbit. One of the things that we served was a rabbit ragu, and the team that I was on, that was one of our dishes, was making this rabbit ragu. So I've worked with rabbit a fair amount. Rabbit on Easter. I could. I would have, yeah, to be honest, Accidental Chaos, like if they were to pack the kangaroo in a, I know they can ship meats because we had seafood from Seattle shipped down to our home in California. They just packed it in ice. So it can be done. It just means that, you know, it's got to be like 2-day shipping or something like that. So yeah, kangaroo, I'm into game meat, sure. Now we were talking to someone just recently, and this is probably going to be a little divisive for people, but she had mentioned that she had been served horse, and this was up in kind of the Seattle area. Now horse, at least here in the US, is very much not approved by the USDA. They're like, no, horse bad, can't do horse. Horse meat, I know for a fact, can and is sometimes served in the UK. I don't know if it's illegal in Canada or not. But in Belgium, horse meat is very much not illegal. In fact, fried in horse fat is kind of a thing. Because of the Butte vaccine, it's carcinogenic. Interesting. But what she was telling me is she kind of explained how it came to be that they had it. I'm not going to talk about any details after that, but the first thing I said to her was, if you can get a hold of those, the folks that, you know, served it, like, I would be into giving it a shot. Yeah, that is definitely something that I would be into giving a shot. They serve it in New York. Horses here get shipped to Mexico to slaughter and then over the pond. Interesting. Yeah, because from what I understand, horse is a very lean meat. One of the, other than like the vaccine, I know one of the big reasons that it's not served was because, you know, we assign kind of like, oh, they're horses, we ride them, we use them for, you know, stuff. Oh, we can't hurt the horses. That's not an attitude shared by a good portion of the world. It's the same thing with dogs. Now, I love my dogs. I don't want to eat my dogs, but Jane, buddy, I love you. But if things hit the fan, you are our emergency food supply. I'm just saying.
Not our first line.
Not our first line, but if it comes to it, there's a reason why we're fattening you up, buddy. Anyways, he's just down here. Pretty sure I used to eat horse salami as a kid in Finland. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like reindeer would be kind of cool if I can get a hold of that. Using a restaurant in my area called the Wild Hare and all unusual meats. I've tried a whole bunch of different stuff. Yeah, I know that there's a number of restaurants that specialize in exotic meats, and moose is something that I've never had, and I would definitely give a shot. Like I'm absolutely into trying just about anything. So funny, well, not so funny, I guess. There was a show that was on, I think it was Animal Planet, a few years back. It was called Whale Wars, and it was about this group that actively went out into around the South Pole to try to stop the harvesting of whales by whatchamacallit, by mostly the Japanese. I was like, you know what? I would be into trying whale, because whale was, you know, a huge food staple for a long time. And not only like here in the US, but also I know Canada for a fact. Whale was kind of a big meat for a long time until, you know, conservation efforts and everything. I think it was while we were still living in Southern California. There was a story that came out in the paper that apparently there was a place in Garden Grove that was like black market selling whale meat, and I was ticked that I didn't know about this connection, because I absolutely would have like gotten some to try. I have also had rattlesnake and alligator. Bison I've also had too. Bison is pretty good, depending on kind of how it's raised. Rattlesnake, I liked rattlesnake. I thought it was pretty good. Reminded me of eel quite a bit. Alligator was pretty tasty from what I remember. So was possum. Possum was something that I tried. This would have been almost 30 years ago. But I remember it being pretty good. It was just kind of like, here, try this. Okay. It was pretty tasty. How would they freeze all that meat? So, okay. So the Japanese commercial fishing industry, they, especially when it comes to like big eye bluefin tuna, they have cryogenic freezers there on the boat in order to freeze the fish as quick as possible. Then that way it's preserved for, you know, a fairly lengthy amount of time. I mean, their cryogenic freezers, we're talking like -40 type temperatures, like really, really low. Sometimes even like liquid nitrogen is used. So in the case of like whale meat, for instance, once they get whales on the deck, they have to quickly start breaking it down in order to make sure that the meat can be preserved and frozen. That's why the processing ships are as big as they are, is because they're dealing with such a large amount of an animal. But big bluefin tuna, the really big ones, you're easily $100,000. For the really big ones that are really, really high quality, that have a really good amount of fat in them, go for an insane amount of money. Yeah, and they are heavily, heavily overfished. It's one of those things that honestly, they need to be like not fished for a while, but what they have found is that there's also a lot of poaching that takes place. Boats, at least at the time, there was a lot of boats coming from like the Mediterranean, and kind of that area that were coming over into where the bulk of the tuna are found, kind of like in between kind of Japan and Australia. In that area, there's a lot of them that are found there. Then you also have like the farm raised ones. Like you have these groups that are trying to farm raise these tuna. But yeah, they really need to back off on fishing them. But yeah, and then you see like shows on, there's a couple of shows about they're tuna fishing, but they're line catching them, as opposed to using gill nets and things like that. They're literally single pole fishing for them, which I think that may be like a U.S. regulation or something like that in order to prevent the overfishing. And so, yeah. And actually, Matt Kelly would know about what's going on with that, since her job deals with the conservation of flora and fauna. Have I ever made sushi? I have, but I can absolutely put it on the list because there's a lot that goes into it. I will say that rolls are definitely the place to begin with if you're a beginner. We'll put that down. Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic for it. Hope they successfully regulate that, or there will be none left. Yeah, and honestly, even if regulations are put into place, it's the honest fishermen that will obey those laws. But what you also find, especially over in that far part of the world, where they're not as affluent, they're hard up for money, you see a lot of poaching that comes from like out of like China, the Philippines, Thailand, a lot of the poorer countries in Southeast Asia definitely are out there poaching quite a bit. So they tend to and it's purely because, you know, they're poor and they're trying to feed their families and stuff. So, oh, now you're talking my language. Katsu curry, that is something that I have made. That is something that I love, and that is definitely something we will do.
You're a kitten. What kind of curry? Here, I'll come in.
Probably a Japanese curry, because if we're talking chicken katsu curry, we're talking a Japanese curry.
David's made all the curries.
So
Indian, Korean.
Yeah. So Japanese
curry?
Korean curry, Indian curries, Thai curries.
Yeah. You'll have to.
Yes, but chicken katsu curry, I'm all over that like white on rice. Let's see. Remember the sushi chef at one of my restaurants showed up like 30 minutes early to prep for everything. They only showed up 30 minutes early to prep. That's bold. The sushi restaurant that I used to go to all the time, and it's really kind of where I learned about sushi. He was there like at 9 in the morning, opening for service. No, actually, no. He was there earlier because they had to get the rice going. He had to go buy fish and everything. They were open for lunch. Then they closed down for a couple of hours and then be open for dinner. Japanese omurice. Okay, we can do that. I've not made omurice before. I have watched a number of videos on how to do it, so it could be a spectacular failure, but I'm all over that.
You don't know how to fail.
That's not true. I'd like to refer you to the okonomiyaki. That last one with the platter.
Yeah,
Egg fried rice. Okay. We spend hours doing the prep for homemade sushi. Yeah. And that, see, Lumpy Pickle, that's the thing, is that for the home chef prepping for that sort of thing, it's going to take way longer than normal, because at a sushi restaurant, they've got all that stuff. Most of that stuff is prepped. They've let fish age for however long they need to, and it's still a fair amount of work. And even when they get in the fresh stuff, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that are basically all in Japanese with like no subtitles that follow different sushi restaurants in different parts of Japan. It's fascinating to watch. That's my kind of thing. I highly recommend them. You just Google sushi restaurant kind of thing. Straight up egg fried rice. Okay. Yeah, egg fried, and honestly, egg fried rice, the basic dishes are going to be the ones that are going to be the easiest to mess up, because there's so little happening that if you don't nail every piece, you can tell. Yeah, I absolutely adore sushi. Although I think I might be allergic to it, because every time I eat more than 80 sushi, I get sick. It's a Parks and Rec joke. But yeah, no, I adore sushi. So, funny haha story. My first sushi experience, I was working at a Moto Photo. This would have been 98. And one of my co-workers there, who ended up being the photographer at this, because we also had a little portrait studio. Anyways, he was into sushi big time, and his best friend and him were always getting sushi and always talking about it. So his best friend for like ever and ever is a guy by the name of Kerry Kelly. Kerry Kelly, if you don't know who that is a guitarist. He's played in Slash's Snake Pit. He's played in Warrant. He recently, well, actually a few years ago, did a collab with Stone Beer. But yeah, so anyways, he was into mostly glam metal. Band that he started out in was called Big Bang Babies. And my friend, who was the photographer, also had a home recording studio, like actual, like, what was it, like an 8-track tape machine. Like, he literally had a home studio and recorded that album there. Anyways, Kerry Kelly comes back from tour with Warrant and has a whole bunch of film, and they're always going for sushi. I'm like, I'd never gone. I'm like, listen, I want to go with you guys to sushi sometime. I'm like, I will take care of your film and processing. Take me to sushi. Deal. So my first time to sushi, I'm going with Kerry Kelly, his girlfriend, who later became his wife, and my friend, who is a photographer. And we go to this place in Newport Beach called Cal Beach. Cal Beach was co-owned by, what's his face? I can see his face. Ended up becoming BFFs with Kim Jong-un. Played for the Chicago Bulls. No, nickname was the Worm. What's his face? Rodman. Yeah, Dennis Rodman. Co-owned the place. Oh yeah, so, sometimes he's, in there or whatever. Anyways, we go in, we're, waiting and everything. Rodman ends up walking in. They walk us over to the sushi bar because they have a relationship with this one guy. I had brushed shoulders with Rodman. I'm 6'3". I came up to his shoulders. Like, he stood like a full head taller than me, which is kind of a trip. So yeah, my first sushi experience was at this place in Newport Beach with Kerry Kelly. Rodman's there. It was just like this, it was a total trip. And there were a couple of things I was just like, okay, I'm not, like, the texture was kind of weird, but I had tried everything that they put in front of me. And yeah, I kind of fell in love with it after the fact. So let's see. Turf. What is this? So basic with it, yeah. Call it turf. Yes, I do. Great sushi place in Maui called Miso Fat. Yeah, I am. They have their own boat called the Shizo Fat. I really want to get one of those wooden boats, actually. Fake away Chinese food, lemon or honey chicken, sweet and sour pork, beef black. Okay. Cheap Chinese. Okay. Yeah, actually, you know, you're kidding me. The budget cooking, leftover cooking, that is something that I will be doing, where it's just like, okay, I've got leftovers, let's make something with it. And that happened, what was that, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. I had a bunch of leftover chicken, I had some leftover roasted veg, I had leftover mashed potatoes, and I turned it into what I called it chicken coop pie. Because it wasn't a cottage pie and it wasn't a shepherd's pie, because it wasn't made with beef or, you know, lamb. It was made with chicken, so I called it chicken coop pie, and it was fantastic. And it was just whatever leftovers that we had. So that is definitely something we'll do. But I'll put down the cheap Chinese. Okay. Sea urchin is not your favorite. It depends on how fresh the squid is. I will say one of my favorites is gooey duck, the large clam. If it's really fresh, it's pretty tender. If it's been around for about a day or so, it starts to take on the texture of like cartilage.
We should go harvest some gooey duck. Look at that, you know?
That would be cool. First experience with sushi was my ex literally just shoving in a Cali roll in my mouth mid-yawn. Like, a California roll is about as pedestrian as it gets. Like, honestly, like, if you can't get behind a California roll, there's just, like, no hope for you. Also, my first near-death experience was having the sushi. Was it because of, like, the little bit of crab that was in there? Well, the fake crab, which is made from pollock. Yeah, to be, and the California roll, honestly, is an American invention. It's not something that is ever actually served in Japan, but doesn't matter. It's our own. But, yeah. Okay, so I think we've got a lot of excellent ideas of things to do, things to put down, so I'll have to kind of look at what the ads are looking like, what's available, and kind of figuring out, see, like katsu curry, like that's something that we could do super easy. Yeah, I could do that Thursday. So here's the question for you though. Let's scroll back up. You're kidding me. On the katsu curry, do you, because I will, okay, when it comes to Japanese curry, for the most part, people at home use the roux blocks that you get, and you can see them in the market. Probably the single most popular one that you'll ever find is by S&B. It's their golden curry, and it comes in a couple of different spice levels, ranging from mild to an extra hot. That seems to be the one that is most widely available. There's a whole bunch of different Japanese curries that come boxed, and I've got probably about 3 or 4 different ones in the pantry right now. My question for you is, do we want to dress that up, or are we wanting to make it from absolute scratch? Because we can make my own almost. Okay, so it's okay, yeah. So you're doing it from the standpoint of it being gluten-free, yeah, because the roux blocks, and Give me 2 seconds. So here's one, and this one's made by House. Kokumaru. It's one of many Japanese brands. House Foods is another huge producer, but this is just one. Anyways, it comes in a block form, and in the block, it's got a roux, which is usually a mixture of oil and flour, wheat flour traditionally. And then that gets added to whatever flavorful liquid that you have, and it thickens up and becomes effectively a gravy. So from scratch is better, but it's up to me. I can do either. I actually do have a recipe for a Japanese curry powder from scratch. This is what is currently left of my Japanese curry powder blend that I made. So we could very easily do one from scratch. And that might be the case, especially if we're aiming for gluten-free. We can certainly do that. So you know what? I'm going to put that down. Can't handle anything that's going to be more spicy than honey barbecue sauce. Okay. Yeah, and you know, a lot of people, the heat is no bueno. So, pre-made, love that. Yeah. So, I'm not sure, like, you're kidding me if you've been around for any amount of time, but I make a number of my own spice blends, and they're all salt-free, specifically so then because the amount of salt that is needed for whatever you're making tends to change, whereas the amount of spices that you add to it tends to be somewhat static. And so because of that, I make seasoning blends without salt, so then that way I can salt it separately but still put in as much of the flavor that I want. The other guys are trying to get us to do a ghost pepper challenge on stream, and I'm like, do you want me to die? Oh, yeah, that'd be a hard pass. I'm like, nope. About make your own blends, pre-made. About a week. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a couple of different spice blends that I make. The big one, it's kind of an all-purpose. I call it butt glitter. It is an all-purpose blend that I've used on chicken, beef, pork. I've used it on lamb, I've used it on vegetables, and it is literally an all-purpose thing. There's a variation of that I make that's we called pixie dust, although originally it was called chicken butt glitter, because it has an herb component to it that I made specifically for going onto chicken. However, we found that it is fantastic on vegetables. It can be used for beef and pork, but I don't like it quite as much. I don't actually, on my YouTube channel, there is videos for how to make each of those blends. There's a recipe for, you know what's funny? Selling the blends, that was an idea that we had and were thinking about doing, and I looked into what it would take in order to make it happen, and thankfully underneath, they're called cottage laws here in the States. You can make certain things in home and sell them without having to go through like an actual plant. But yeah, I mean, the recipe is up, so if you want to make your own and change it up, you certainly can too. In fact, I got to mix up some of these, and I got to send some of this stuff up to Canada. There's some folks up there that need some of this stuff in their life. So, hey, guess what? Chicken butt. Let's see. Is it possible to make a gluten-free moussaka? Can almond flour be used in a bechamel sauce? That is a really interesting question, Night Song. So, first of all, where did I put that marker? Here it is. Okay. And then a gluten-free bechamel. Thanks, you're kidding me. Okay, so I'm not. I know moussaka is Greek, and if I remember correctly, I thought it was like a mixture of like ground beef and eggplant. But I don't. I let me look it up and figure it out. And almond flour be used in a bechamel. Okay, so here's my question about the bechamel sauce. What are you using it for? Because that's going to be kind of the big deciding factor, because in flour in a bechamel sauce is used as part of the roux in order to thicken up the milk. Okay. Let's see. Shutting down and leaving work will be on in about 20 minutes or something. Okay. Have a good, safe drive home, Lumpy Pickle. I'm glad you're actually getting out at a semi-reasonable hour. Isn't that in the moussaka? You know what? I don't know. Like I said, well, let's... Moussaka. Greek beef and eggplant lasagna.
Yes, please.
Okay, rich tomato meat sauce layered with eggplant instead of pasta sheets and topped with a thick layer of bechamel. Okay, I've got a recipe open that I'm looking at right now, so let's see. Let's scroll down. I want to see, like, if the bechamel is like a, thicker than used lasagna and things like broccoli gratin. It's semi-set using eggs. Let's see.
Okay.
Garlic. Yeah, bechamel. Okay. Whoops. It's not everyday, but it's made with eggs. So it sets it because moussaka has a nice big thick layer of sauce, far usual. Okay. Milk, nutmeg, butter, eggs, parmesan, and flour. Okay.
It's Celiac Awareness Week.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh. Okay. So here's my... Hey, Cole Runnings. Welcome, welcome. Oh, okay. Gotcha. You're kidding me. I'm right there with you. Okay. Okay. So in a bechamel sauce without wheat flour as the thickener. Okay. If we're trying to do something gluten-free, I think what I would do instead, not necessarily almond flour, because I don't know what kind of thickening power that has. If the point of the bechamel sauce with the eggs on top of the moussaka is that it's supposed to actually set and kind of become a more of a solid layer, I would consider doing like arrowroot would be something. Rice flour, tapioca starch, perhaps. I would also say like cornstarch, like a cornstarch slurry. Cornstarch and water mixed together, and then mix that into the milk or heavy cream, and then have that thicken up. It will have a different consistency than a traditional bechamel sauce, but oh, no corn. Okay. Yeah, I would say like tapioca. Yeah, tapioca starch, you could probably do that with. The other thing that, The other thing that I would consider is possibly doing something along the lines of a cheese sauce, but it has Parmesan in it, but that's about it. It's mostly that milk and parm with some egg. Because what I was thinking is if it was in the form of a cheese sauce, kind of like mac and cheese, but made with the cheese, sodium citrate, and milk. So then that way it has that same kind of consistency of like melted American cheese. That might be something to work. Yeah, chickpea flour. Coconut, I think, might give it a weird kind of twinge. Rice would be kind of like arrowroot or rice would probably be my top choices. Tapioca and chickpea, something like that. I'm not super familiar with kind of the alternatives for gluten-free stuff, but that is something that I have been kind of like dabbling and getting into because there's so many people that are celiacs and have gluten issues. And so I would be doing myself a serious disservice if I didn't at least not only acknowledge it, but try to make stuff so then that way it's like, oh, okay, or at least be aware of like how I can make substitutions. You know, it's like, okay, I'm making this. If you're, you know, if you have a gluten issue, well, here's what you can do to change it up. If you have, you know, an allergy to some, you know, whatever, okay, this is what you can do to switch it up. The broccoli cheddar soup that I made, I'm working on a way to make it completely vegan. But that's gluten-free because I don't make it with a roux. I do a totally different thickening agent. Spoiler alert, it's pureed vegetables. So, let's see. I hit the Greek church circuit here because it's better than the yeah, absolutely. Definitely hit up those Greek churches if you have one in the area, especially when they're having a festival. Go. The food's amazing. Gluten-free cooking is so challenging, especially for a celiac. Yeah, good luck. You're kidding me. Yeah, gluten-free cooking is definitely, it can be a challenge. But I look at it as a challenge that's definitely worth tackling. Plus, it also, it makes me think in a different way. It's like, okay, well, I'm approaching, you know, whatever culinary problem that I'm facing, usually in one particular direction, because I'm an omnivore. I'll eat just about anything. But I'm not, you know, there's many people like, you know, like clearly some folks here in chat that have issues. And so it's like, okay, well, I would, you know, I'm looking out for my chat. You know, I'm looking out for, you know, people that are watching and, you know, trying to help them out. And because culinary tech support is something that I love doing. And then when we get closer to, you know, different holidays, if I can figure out how to work up an actual like phone line or even like Zoom or something like that, I want to open it up to a culinary tech support hour or something like that. So then that way people can call in or Zoom in or whatever. And if you have like specific questions about the holidays, you know, it's like, hey, how do I deal with the turkey? Or what do I do with this? Then that way we can talk and get it worked out. Because I love doing that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a lot easier now that the shops do have a gluten-free blends of flour, etc. to use if you can't afford to make your own blends. Getting rid of gluten has the biggest hit from sauces and some spices. Yeah. When one encounters a food allergy or something like that, it can be a big challenge, especially when you start getting into things like that, where it's like, hey, you know what? Gluten-free options on things can be more expensive. And so then it's like now suddenly, you know, your wallet's taking a hit. But I kind of look at it from the standpoint of, instead of necessarily trying to replace the thing that I can no longer have, what can I do with everything else that I can have, and how can I make that much better? You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that we shouldn't consider alternatives and workarounds for those issues, but it just means, you know, you change your thinking a little bit. And if you can change your thinking and become more open to being able to roll with the punches, then, you know, you're much more agile. You're more able to work with whatever comes at you. You know what I mean? So, set that up as a channel in the Discord. Actually, you know what? You're probably right, Accidental Chaos. We could probably set that up as a voice channel on the Discord. And then, yeah, if I did it from my other computer, then we can sit there and we can do it through the Discord, share the screen. I'm just like thinking through the technical aspects of it now. But yeah, that would absolutely be a way to do it, is through the voice channel on Discord. That's not something that I've played with previously, but hey, I've had to learn the OBS Studio software. I've learned the StreamerBot software. I've had to learn how to navigate Twitch, and so hey, so far so good. You know what I mean? It got me into cooking from scratch, to be honest. More fresh produce and away from the processed foods. Yeah, to be honest, cooking from scratch is something that, at least here in the States especially, the bulk of the country's really gotten away from. But thankfully there are still plenty of people that are fighting the good fight and trying to encourage that behavior of cooking from scratch. So then that way, you know exactly what's going into what it is that you're eating, and feeding yourself is kind of a really a basic skill that I think everybody should have. That's just me. I focus on meats and poultry, healthy fats and veggies. Can't have corn or coconut, so I opt for rice. Okay. Corn or coconut. All right. Yeah. So I also love rice in its many forms. Not only from things like, I've got long grain rice here, I've got jasmine rice, I've got basmati rice, I've got the expensive Japanese rice. It is actually, I have an unopened bag of it that I can show you. So, this rice is 100% Japanese grown golden koshihikari, which is a specific strain of short grain rice that has an absolutely phenomenal flavor. And I had no idea the flavor of rice could be like this until I saw it, and I'm like, wow, an actual Japanese grown rice that was not like a bag this size, which is what, 5 kilos. Some of the Japanese rices that you see, this bag would be probably $100, $200, coming from specific prefectures in Japan. But the fact that this was the price that it was, and wasn't cheap, but it wasn't the end of the world, and it was grown in Japan, like, this rice is absolutely phenomenal. I've got my rice cooker that I've spent a little bit of money on, and shush. Yeah, but it yields absolutely phenomenal rice. And honestly, it's just water and rice that goes in there, no salt. Without salt, this stuff has got an absolutely phenomenal flavor. Yeah, basmati is fantastic. Phenomenal aroma, really great texture. Same with jasmine too. still got to learn the streamer bot stuff. You're doing the thing. Oh, thanks, Accidental Chaos. I appreciate that. Yeah, streamer bot, there is a fair learning curve to it, but thankfully there's a number, like the streamer bot Discord is fantastic for having your questions answered, especially if you're having issues. There's a couple of YouTubers. Andy Lippy is one of the guys that I watch his videos, and there's another gentleman, I forget what his channel is called, but the videos are called Streamer Bot Bites, and he does single topic streamer bot videos. And so like that's how I figured out how to put up the Final Fantasy VII style notifications for like follows and subscriptions and things like that. It was how I figured out how to set up the customs commands and triggers and things like that. So yeah, if you honestly, Accidental Chaos, if you have questions, feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to talk about it, because yeah, it was quite the learning curve, but I finally feel like I'm at a place where I have a pretty good understanding of it. He'll hydrate. But like if I was a programmer and I knew C#, like it would just unlock an absolute world of possibilities with that thing. It is a very, very powerful piece of software. So yeah, the rice cooker's, for me, absolutely worth it, because I don't have to worry about it, and it has been a phenomenal rice cooker. So for me, it was completely and utterly worth it. But at any rate, yeah. So I think that about does it for the day. I'm kind of hungry, so I think I'm gonna have an eat. Oh, nice! Dinner's done. I will catapult myself over the border, and I'll trot my way in your direction. And yeah, dinner sounds good, man. I'll bring my immersion circulator so we can sous vide a whole bunch of chicken for you, Grant. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. You're kidding me. I don't know if you've hit that follow button, but if you haven't hit that follow button, definitely do it. Then that way you'll get notified next time I go live. I usually stream yeah, like 9 hours. Yeah, for me it's about, what do we figure? It's probably about 5 hours up to Vancouver. Yeah, it's about 5 hours from here up to Vancouver. But okay, nice. I'm looking forward to it, Grant. That's gonna be excellent.
Get those passports.
Yeah. Step one, get a passport. Although I suppose we could probably be smuggled in by water. Through the Puget Sound. Anyways. Yeah, but you're kidding me if you're still around. If you haven't followed yet, definitely give us a follow. And that way you'll be notified when I'm on. My current schedule, at least here in the US, it's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays at about 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, according to... Oh, you're followed. Fantastic. Good to know. Yeah, that's normally when I'm streaming, unless there's something comes up. But if I'm not streaming, I will post about it by way of any of the social media outlets to say as much. And sometimes I periodically will pop on outside of that schedule. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so we can get into the gluten-free stuff even more so. That'll be good. So everybody, thank you so much. This has been fun. This has been a lot of fun. And let's see. Let's open this up. See how long it takes to load. Curious who else is on right now. If there's anybody to... Let's see. Oh, Colleen just started. She must have just started because she's only currently got 15 people on. I would imagine probably she still only has a loading screen going because... Oh, no. Oh yeah, no, it is her loading screen because they're playing her opening reel video. Who else? None of the food people that I follow is on, it looks like. But, okay. Well, that's alright. So, yeah, exactly. Winging it. Winging it is fun. And like I said, I love, like, doing this Q&A, like, trying to tech support stuff, figuring out, Moussaka on the fly, things like that. That's my jam. I love doing that sort of thing. So, that being the case, I'm just gonna play my my jingle music, let y'all enjoy that for a little bit. If you've never heard the jingle in full, amazing song written by the one and the only Andrew Kingsley. There we go. Guitarist for Unleash the Archers, and super nice dude who wrote the jingle for me, and it is amazing, and it always puts a smile on my face. So I will send you all out with that. Have a wonderful night, morning, afternoon, whatever. Take care, everybody, and yeah, if you have any questions about anything, please hit me up on the Discord. Hit me up by any way of the social media methods. I'm here to help you guys, all right? Take care, everyone. I love y'all. Have a good night.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be?